What if I told you that this is a dynamic microphone? You probably could tell that by the look of the microphone itself. But what if I told you that this microphone not only takes XLR, USB, but it also takes a wireless dongle? So you have a wireless dynamic microphone. Let's talk about it. So sorry for the weird cut and as well as the weird microphone change and the audio change, because I typically use the Comica VM30 for microphones in the shot with the Beacon Studio, but the Beacon Studio has noise suppression and not background noise removal, and they're cutting grass outside, which they've been doing every single day around this time. I have no idea why, but they do it every single day. And my son is with an in-home nanny who has a 1-year-old, so they're having fun, having a little play date because my wife is pulling a double and I have obligations to get these reviews out, so I have to get them out because we're going on a vacation at the end of the month for like a whole entire month. So I'm not going to be able to have time allotted to be able to do these reviews. So I do apologize for any audio discrepancies. So what I'm using is the Cinco Mic D1 going into the Wave XLR with the AI voice isolation as well as background noise removal. So hopefully the audio sounds good, but I do apologize if anything does bleed through, especially when we get to testing this microphone. Also, a side note, Comica, if you want to send out your new shotgun microphone, the XLR one, I have my eyes on it because this one is been put through its paces and I think it's about time to retire it because it's super old. And I could use a new one. So I would love to test it if you're willing. With all that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the Comica EJoy D10 PRO. And I want to go ahead and put the price on screen so you guys are aware of it, just straight out the back, how much it costs. There are different versions out there where there's a Pro kit that comes with 2 of them. There's a non-Pro version. There's a version that comes with the desktop, I would say stand, as well as the one that comes with the microphone boom arm. We're talking about the one with the microphone boom arm in this video. So let's go ahead and dive into why this microphone might just be right for you. So if you've been looking for a microphone that's built for streaming, gaming, and content creation, this might be the one. Like I said, today we're going to be checking out the Comica EJoy D10 PRO. It is a USB wireless gaming microphone that also works with XLR, has real-time monitoring with RGB lighting and EQ presets all built into the microphone. And with that wireless capability, you get up to 45 hours of use before you have to charge it. That is insane to say. I think this is the very first microphone of its kind out there, at least a dynamic microphone. I could be wrong. You can go ahead and fact check me if you want to in the comment section, but just think of the limitless, I would say, content creation capability with this microphone, from doing podcasts, reaction videos, or even live streaming with multiple people, especially if you get the Pro kit, hooking it up with no wires, keeping your desk setup clean and an aesthetic looking nice. And it comes in 2 different colorways. One's black, one's white, but we'll get into a little bit discrepancies in the con section of this microphone with that, I would say, in mind. So let's test how it sounds in each mode. What I'm going to be testing is the USB-C little dongle that comes with the adapter in the box. And I'm going to be testing it in its wireless mode. During my testing yesterday, when I used the wireless mode and the actual USB cable that comes with it, which on top of that, I do want to say thank you, Comica, again, for having super long cables when it comes to your products. Everything that has USB connection, it's always super long. And I do appreciate that, because a lot of companies out there think that your microphone is going to be like right there sitting on top of your computer or something like that with the cable lengths that you normally get. But this one's going to be long enough to run through, I would say, most people's microphone boom arms, depending on the distance and the reasonable distance from your PC. And if you get the Pro version, you don't even have to worry about that cable length, even if it's for some reason too far, because you could just use the wireless capability. So yeah, it's going to be great for anybody's, I would say, setup. And it's going to be really capable probably for your setup, depending on your needs as well. So again, there's no reason for me to test, I would say, the USB-C and the wireless thing, because that's going to be something I have to unplug from my computer and try to test it and stuff like that. Like I said, I did all that stuff yesterday trying to record the video, and for some reason my editing program had an update. So the audio normalization that it was doing was introducing even into my pre-recorded audio with the EQs. It was introducing a lot more gain, and so I was getting a lot more white noise hiss in the background, and it's not because of these microphones. I tested it multiple times to make sure it wasn't the microphone itself. So if there's any kind of audio discrepancy in the audio test, it's because I tried to normalize the audio or something like that, and it's the audio program. it's not the microphone, trust me. But this Comica EJoy D10 Pro, it's not necessarily built as a tank. And the reason why I say that is because it does feel a little cheap in hand. It's very lightweight. It's not the heaviest microphone I have, but it's not the lightest one either. A lot of the components that are built into the back does feel a little bit more weight heavy because, again, all the stuff that you can do on the back of the microphone, all the things that you can chain. I'll try to put a diagram on screen, all the locations and what the buttons do and stuff like that. If you are a little bit more interested in it, I will leave a link down in the description to the user manual that you can read along in the video description. That will show you everything that's capable with this microphone, as well as additional information. Again, user manual. Thank you, Comica, for having a user manual that's able to download and people take a look at your products. Again, a lot of people don't do this. This is coming from a premium brand. This is coming from a company who knows how to please their customers. In my personal experience, not only purchasing their products, but also having them sent out. It's always a joy to work with Comica. But the audio is actually pretty good from what you get, especially at this price point. And I think that's what you're paying for. And honestly, if you want my TLDR right here, I would say get the Pro version just because you get the wireless connection, and that's the best bang for your buck, especially at this price point, and allows you to have a little bit more creativity with your content creation as well. Even if you're not going to use it, it's a nice to have and not need it, then need it and not have it, especially in certain scenarios with content creation. And I will go ahead and say that's pretty much it as far as like the cons go, as far as the microphone itself. Now, talking about the microphone boom arm, it's one of those really cheap microphone boom arms that has the springs on the outside that I think we should just phase out at this point. I would rather you get a proper microphone boom arm. Yes, it's going to be a little bit of extra money that you're going to have to shell out, but it's going to pay for itself, like in the long run, having a decent microphone boom arm. I know a lot of people like to touch the microphone boom arms and move the microphones around and stuff. I don't do that. I normally talk with my hands when I'm doing videos, and if I'm not and I'm streaming, my hands are always on my keyboard and mouse or just sitting in my lap or something like that. So I know some people are very excitable. They're very out there with their personality. They're moving around a lot and stuff like that. So they might do that. And if you're doing it with this kind of microphone boom arm, it's not a knock to Comica. It's just the way this microphone boom arm has been out, and it's so cheaply made with the springs and stuff, all that feedback and everything from even personal use of a microphone boom arm, like just like this for years before I started even doing, I would say, product reviews. All that gets feedbacked right into your microphone. And with this one feeling a little bit on the cheaper end, and especially if you're using the USB stuff and you're not using the XLR connection with stuff to combat, you know, microphone bumps and taps and desk taps and stuff like that, that's definitely going to get picked up in your voice recordings or your podcasting or your live streams. So you're probably better off getting the desktop stand version, and then just in the future getting a microphone boom arm. It just doesn't feel like it's necessary as far as having this version, because like I said, with this type of microphone, the build quality of it and everything, it's not going to be a good combo with this microphone boom arm, especially if you bump up against it. If you're, like I said, you talk with your hands a lot, you move around your microphone and stuff, it's just going to get picked up into your microphone. So going back to the capabilities of this microphone, it does have an XLR port. Like I said, it has the USB Type-C, and the Pro version does come with that wireless connection that I've been touting about. It does have the RGB control on the back of the microphone. You tap it to cycle through the RGB sections. If you've ever seen an RGB, I would say, microphone that has a button like this, you've seen pretty much all of them. It's the same type of RGB ring that you see on all microphones that don't have software to customize or control the RGB lighting. So there's really no reason for me to show it off even in the demo section, because it's literally the same little presets that you get on any RGB microphone. And you can see it clearly. It's pretty cool, but it's just the same. There's no reason for me to go through the hassle of showing it, especially since I'm trying to keep this video as concise as possible, because we need to get to the sound test. Speaking of sound tests, you do have the EQ button on the back. It has 3 different modes. One color is orange. It has blue, green, and then no EQ presets. The orange is called bass, so you get your podcasty little, I would say, voice iteration of it. If you already have a deep voice, you probably want to kind of stay away from it. If you have, I would say, if you're looking for just a natural sounding, I don't want to say the flat tone, but just a natural sounding, then you can go with blue, which is, again, their nature sound. And then you got bright, which is green. Bright, I think, just kind of cuts out the lows and kind of accentuates the highness of your voice. So I would imagine people with lighter voices or something like that, or maybe even deep voices that don't really like muddy tones or something, you could use. But I would probably just stay around bass if you're looking for that podcasty. And if you're looking for just a natural sound, I would go nature. Unfortunately, there's no flat. Yes, flat would just be no EQ at all. And at the top of those buttons, you do have a little switcher for little microphone, I would say gain or a little boost in it. I would never go above 3 in my testing. I would step it around 2, depending on if you're using USB or not. I would leave it around 2. If you're using XLR, then maybe go up to 3, depending on your audio interface and your gain and all that stuff. But typically I would say 1 to 2 for, I would say 90% of your scenarios. Just leave it there, because then you're going to start introducing a lot of more self noise as well as room noise, and then anything else that you could think of as far as just artificial gain or noise or wherever, especially if you're going to go ahead and normalize the audio in editing or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and leave it there. The headphone jack, again, real-time monitoring from my testing. I didn't have any delay or anything like that. There was nothing that was causing me to trip up while talking. I will go ahead and say, take my opinion with a grain of salt, because I am not somebody who listens back to my voice while recording, live streaming, or anything like that. I find it very annoying because I don't like my voice. I've been doing this since 2014. And I've been doing this for so many years as far as like just talking and hearing my voice anyways. So I don't like the way my voice sounds. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of content creators that don't like it, especially the hours that you put into editing content as well as live streaming and listening stuff back and having to test microphones and all this. I'm tired of hearing my voice. I'm really tired. So lastly, let's talk about the battery life. Obviously, I'm not going to test this for 45 hours straight because there's not enough time in the days for me to be able to do that, because I have other things to do, and I'm just gonna have to go on a limb here and trust Comica that it's around 45 hours. So again, great features. Again, I think this is the first of its kind out there in the world. Could be wrong. Again, you could correct me in the comments if I am. And Comica, innovation. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the audio test and then wrap up the video. So what you're listening to right now is the Comica EJoy D10 PRO hooked up to my PC during the wireless connection. Again, I'm not going to do the actual USB Type-C connection straight into the microphone because there's literally no point, because it sounds the same and you pretty much get the same functionality. It's just that you have a hardwired connection. The only differences I would say is probably when you jump to the XLR, I would say input. So with all that being said, the knob on it for muting the mic, you just press it down, it mutes. To sync it up or to power the microphone on, if you're going to use wireless, there is a button at the top right here that lets you sync. So the gain on the back is set to 1. Again, this is the lowest preset for it, and there's no EQ preset going on. So we're going to go ahead and bump it up to 2. On, I would say, the preset 2 for the gain of the microphone. Again, it could go up to 4. And this is when you start introducing a lot more noise. And I'll go ahead and tap the microphone boom arm. So if you are wearing headphones, just be very aware. But I want to go ahead and show off why I say do not get this microphone boom arm. Again, sorry for headphone users, but I try to give you guys a warning. That's just why I would not get this microphone boom arm. The springs, if you bump it, tap it, anything like that, especially if you're not running any presets or EQs on this, and if you already have kids going on in the background, which you probably can hear now, it's not really conducive, I would say, to use this kind of microphone boom arm. Maybe if you had the desktop version or wherever, but I would just get a proper microphone boom arm. So we're going to go ahead and bump up to 3 so you guys can hear that gain. There we go. Should be on 3. Hopefully I didn't turn it all the way to max, but this is the way it sounds, and we're going to go ahead and turn it up to 4. That's maxed out. This is the way it sounds. So that's why I say go ahead and bump it down to 2, because you're just introducing so much room noise. All right, so again, I'm gonna try to put the color coordination on screen so you guys can know, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn the EQ on. So what you do to turn it off or turn it on, you just hold it down for a little bit. You'll see a light come on or go off depending on if you're turning on or off the EQ. All right, so we're on orange right now, which, if memory serves me correctly, it is bass. Yep, it's bass, and this is the way it sounds. Again, on level 2 with the gain, this is where I would keep it at all times. This is my personal opinion. And obviously, you want the proximity effect, so you want to be at a reasonable distance, talking straight into the capsule. And I'm gonna go ahead and go to the side and stuff like that. You do have like it's a dynamic microphone. You got to talk in front of the capsule, and if you go to the other sides of the microphone, it's going to distort your audio because again, you're supposed to be talking in the front. I am not an audio engineer. I'm not somebody who reviews microphones all the time. So sorry if the process is not up to par to where some people believe there should be only one type of reviewing microphones. This is not a technical review. This is just showing you the features of the microphone. So let's go ahead and say that the orange or the bass is done. Let's go ahead and switch to nature, which should be up next, which is the blue. All right, so we're in the nature. This should be, I guess, natural sounding. I wish they would have clarified a little bit more in the user manual or whatever, but this is the way it sounds. Again, with the gain set on 2 for the preset, and again, that wireless connection, and this is the way it sounds. So let's go ahead and jump over to bright, which is green. And all right, this is the bright setting. So this is the green setting. Again, there you go. Again, next to the EQ, you do have the RGB mode, where you can change it to, I think it just kind of goes with your talking on this one. And then you have the Comica orange. And then you have the cycling of purple / whitish bluish. And then if you cycle again, it just kind of like fades the color in and out. I'm cool with them having the different modes and stuff here in the Comica orange and all that stuff. That's fine, but the orange branding on the mic mute / headphone volume knob, as well as this little orange line around, I kind of wish they would have just got rid of that, because it makes it a little bit more cleaner for people's aesthetics when they're trying to match setup to setup, especially if you're getting the white one, because a lot of people like their setups to match, and that just kind of throws off having these accented colors. Again, I know it's company branding, but even on the wireless dongle, they have the Comica logo all white out, but on the side of the microphone, it still has the Comica orange and gray. Like I get brands want to put their brand awareness and stuff out there, but you could have made it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, because not everybody's going to have a setup where these orange accents and all this other stuff is going to be applicable or appropriate for their setup. Not to mention when you're throwing RGB colors on this and it's just random colors, it throws off the whole aesthetic, in my personal opinion. So let's go ahead and jump over to the XLR input, because this video is already long enough. So feature editing squid here. I just want to go ahead and interject that the XLR portion of this test, I'm just going to let it play for a little bit and then play the outro, because during the XLR portion, for some reason, my brain had a brain fart and I was thinking that I was doing the USB connection test and then going to do the XLR connection test. So the XLR port and then trying to use the EQ presets and bump the mic gain and all that stuff didn't do anything, because those functions are only for the USB and the wireless dongle, I would say, portion and features. So just keep that in mind. Don't mind me. It's just me. My brain is just racked with being tired and everything. So again, just keep in mind that yes, the XLR port is going to give that audio a little bit more of a cleaner signal and response, especially being microphones under $100. I've noticed this from testing so many different microphones. The XLR port always gives you the best, I would say, audio quality from it. So there is going to be a little bit of a discrepancy from the wireless USB as well as the USB. So just keep that in mind. I could go through and, EQ, clean it up and all that stuff like you would normally do for your audio for your videos or content creation or your live streams. So just keep that in mind. Yes, it's not going to sound as good as the XLR portion. XLR, even without EQ, is going to do good, especially if you have a decent XLR interface. But just keep in mind, like, you can still get by with the USB and the wireless. It's just not, I would say, really, really accurate representation, because again, more could be done. But as long as you keep the gain, I said around 2, depending on your environment, you might be able to go to 3, but I would just keep it around 2 and then use nature or bass, in my personal opinion, and just go from there for your audio needs. And again, we're back to no EQ with the gain set on 2 on the microphone. And then obviously all the preamble settings are still the same. And this is the way it sounds with the XLR port. Now, again, I think the microphone looks good as far as like just aesthetically looking at it, other than those orange little nitpicks I said, as well as the build quality is not all there, but at the same time, it's not going to be too, I would say, worrisome or problemsome, because you're not going to be touching the microphone a lot or anything like that. I would say you're pretty much just going to have this on the microphone boom arm anyways, but definitely avoid the microphone boom arm. You heard it here first, like how it sounds and stuff, fiddling around with it. I just would not touch these microphone boom arms archetypes like at all, period, no matter if it's from Comica or anything like that. It's not worth the hassle. It's not worth the pain trying to get all that out of a recording or people having to hear that while you're live streaming and stuff. Nobody wants to hear that. You know what I'm saying? So overall, what do I think of the EJoy D10 Pro from Comica? I think it's a great option for content creators out there who are looking for a microphone with this kind of capability. Again, I would stress, I know it costs a little bit of extra money, but get the one with the Pro version because you can use it hooked up to your phone. Apparently, you can also use it on Macs, even the non-Pro version. I do not have a Mac product or an Apple product or anything like that to be able to test this theory or whatever, but I imagine you can since it's advertised that you can. And again, with the Pro version or even the USB version, you could just hook it up to USB-C to your phone if you want to use a dynamic microphone for your say recordings, especially with the EQs built right in. It makes it easier because you don't have to worry about software unless you're going to use, you know, XLR port or whatever for your software to clean up the audio a little bit better or get a little bit of better sound from this microphone. Me personally, I still just like XLR sounding because I can control the audio, but having the presets and the pinch if you need to record on the go or something like that and you want a dynamic microphone for the capabilities of a dynamic microphone, you do have that option. And again, I can just say innovation, innovation, innovation. Comica keeps doing it and I like it. I would just like the build quality of the microphone to be a little bit better. The sound quality is there, the presets and everything is there for people who are probably just going to use this for Discord or maybe using it integrated with OBS for the live streams or something like that. It's nice to have those controls and the ease of use of this microphone, nothing fiddling around or anything like that. It's really good. And like I said, it's innovation, and that's what we need in the microphone space. Because the only other microphone that I would recommend probably slightly above this in 2025 is probably the Mayano PD300X, because with that software, you can download it and everything. And even if you don't really know how to mess with EQ bands and stuff, they do have their own presets and they're pretty decent, especially their, I would say, normal or original brand of their EQ preset is going to be usable for a lot of people out there and using USB-C with that. So it just depends on what type of content creation you're trying to do, which one I would pick over. They're very, I would say, neck and neck as far as the best one in 2025, as far as availability and being around this, you know, $80 to $90 price point or $100 price point. So it just depends on, again, your use case scenario, what you're looking for. But I do recommend this microphone. Just like I said, keep the caveats in mind of, if anything, replace the microphone boom arm or just get another one in general. And yeah, I don't have any other cons. I think the microphone sounds great. I think the presets are great. Let's see the next iteration of it. Let's keep on innovating. And I hope Comica keeps on doing that with strides, because I can't, like I said, I can't sing the praises of Comica enough. I love their products. I use them all the time, mostly for my videos. You've seen me use the Comica VM30 a lot. I am taking their wireless lavalier systems literally on the go. I'm taking a Venmo Q, the 4 wireless lavalier system, with me to Hawaii to do content creation while I'm over there, interviews with my wife's family and stuff like that, miking up 4 people, do a camera, recording that stuff, great audio, great experience with that wireless lavalier system. So again, I'm somebody who daily drives this kind of stuff or wherever on almost pretty much every single content creation, like every single thing that I do. The only thing I don't do is use their microphones probably for my live streams, because I have another audio setup or wherever for my other editing / streaming desk. So that's about it. So with all that being said, you can take my testimony, take it with a grain of salt if you want to. But that's just my honest thoughts and opinions. This video has been going on long enough, so I'm going to end the video here. If you want to pick up this, it will be linked in the description. They're going to be affiliate links to help out the channel and help me grow as far as being able to do these reviews more often, as well as showing companies that y'all like my reviews. With all that being said, y'all take care. Have a squid-tastic day. God bless you and yours. And deuces, everybody. Much love.